Morning, peeps. I'm back. And episode 2 of the summer series is going to be focused on the changes that we'd like to see in FPL next season. And to kick it off, we're going to do the survey because yesterday you probably had an email from FPL with your season review on it. Personally, I didn't get one. I had to take this from Reddit because I must have had the box ticked to receive no spam from FPL, so I didn't get one. But we're going to be doing the survey together because I haven't done it yet. I haven't even looked at the questions. So we'll do that and then we'll go and have a look at what people have been suggesting for changes for next season. Anyway, we'll crack on with it. Let's have a look. It's too early to start talking about the World Club Challenge. That'll probably be the next episode. So we'll have a look at this survey. Thank you for taking the time to participate in our Premier Fantasy League research. Your answers will help to shape the future of the game. So it's going to shape the future of the game, peeps. So you better fill it in and make sure your voice is heard. It's going to take 5 or 10 minutes. Mandatory questions are marked with an asterisk. Okay, so let's go. What are we going to have here? Demographics. What is your gender? Well, I don't think we'll play silly buggers here, peeps. So let's put male down and move on to the next question. What's your year of birth? Well, we definitely don't want to put that down, do we? I might do in the privacy of my own home, but not with you lot watching. Let's do a rough estimate and say 1980. Right, so what country do you currently live in? We'll say New Zealand, shall we? Which is where we actually do live. So far, we haven't found out much. Did you play in the 24-25 season? Yep. How many seasons have you played FPL in total? 6 seasons plus. How would you rate my FPL knowledge, peeps? What would you give me for this one? 1 to 5. What do we mean by knowledge? How well you understand the rules, features, gameplay and common terminology of FPL, where 1 is beginner, 5 is expert. Well, peeps, I know a lot of people like to call themselves experts around here, but to be honest, how could you call yourself anything other if you know the rules according to this? So if you know the rules, you're an expert. So we'll move on. Reflections. How would you rate your overall experience of FPL? Where 0 is not at all satisfied and 10 is extremely satisfied. I hope Steve-O's filling this in. Is that how you spell satisfied? It looks a bit weird, doesn't it? I suppose it is. I'm a bit not hungover, but I went to the chess club last night and had a terrible, terrible defeat, peeps. Absolutely shocking. My brain after 9 o'clock at night just turns to mush, and I've swapped red arrows in FPL for losing chess matches, and the similar feeling is very, very similar, except in chess you can't even blame luck. Can't blame luck or that little prick Suarez, wherever it could be. See, I can't even think of a current name. That's how my brain is this morning. Right, so some weeks it's 0. I'm going to give that a 9, actually. The trouble is, if I give them too high a mark, it just encourages them not to change anything, doesn't it? So I'll give them an 8. I was pretty satisfied with it this season. I'll give them a 9. I think the rule change to 5 transfers was excellent. Actually, I'm going to give them an 8 because I've just remembered the assistant manager chip. Right, how likely are you to recommend it to a friend? Right, to be honest, peeps, I try and hide the fact I play it, to be honest. It's not something that comes up in everyday conversation. But if they're a football fan, I'd say 10. I'll give that a 10 because I would mention it. How did you feel about the announcement of the mystery chip this season? Here we go. I was aware and excited by the prospect I was aware and indifferent to the prospect. I was aware but not excited by the prospect. I was not aware there was a chip. Peeps. And there were people, there were a lot of people who did not even play their mystery chip this season. They either didn't know about it or their eyes just glazed over. Do you know what I mean? Because it was, at first glance, it wasn't the easiest thing to grasp, was it? So I wouldn't say I was indifferent. I'd say I was aware but not excited would be my answer to that one. It was more a case of being aware and dreading it rather than, but that's not an option on this list. Would you like to see more chips introduced during the season in the future? This is what's going to happen. We're going to end up with a chip every week by the end of it. You can see it, can't you? Yes, reveal it during the season. Yes, but reveal before the season or no. Tricky, isn't it? You put no and probably nothing changes. You put yes and who knows what direction they go in. I'm going to put yes. I'll put yes, but reveal it before the season starts. The mystery chip was revealed to be a assistant manager chip. Did you use this chip? Yep. Would you like to see Premier League managers in FPL again in the future? Yes, as a chip. Yes, but not as a chip. And no. I've got a feeling they're contemplating adding a manager permanently to your team. So that instead of picking 15 players, you're picking 15 players and a manager. But why make it a manager? Why not just make it a club? You know, if it was just a club, then you wouldn't have all these arguments about managers getting sent off and all that type of thing. You know, just make it a club. Club badge. Add a club badge to your team. You know, good teams cost more than bad teams, rather than doing it as a manager. Because managers change, don't they? What happens? What happens if you use your assistant manager on a manager who gets a sack in the second week? They didn't really specify what would happen then, did they? But I did use it anyway. Would I like to see them in the game in the future? Tricky one, really. I put yes, but not as a chip. Although I'm not sure I really would. I'm not unsure about that question. On a scale of 0 to 10, how do you rate the following chips? Haha. This will all be by how many points you got, won't it? Free hit chip. I think a free hit chip's pretty good. I'll give that an 8. Triple captain. I don't mind the triple captain. I'm going to give the assistant manager 5 because it wasn't. No, I'll give it 4 just for the way it was done. Bench boost. No, I'm happy with the bench boost. It just turned out awful. And a wild card 10. But they should have said 1 or 2 wild cards, I think, because personally, I'd just like to see 1 wild card rather than 2. You rated one of the chips 5 or below. If you would like to provide additional information on why, so that was too complicated. And covered too many game weeks. Right, would you like to see more chips in the future? I thought we had that question. Sure we had that question, didn't we? That was more during... Would you like to see more introduced during the season? Oh, but no. I can't even read, peeps. Right, so... Would you like to see more chips in the future? Actually, I want fewer or no chips. I think. Do I? They're a bit of fun, I guess, aren't they, chips? They are a bit of fun. I'll put down no, but change at least one of the chips. Although which one? Hmm. Oh, I'll put no. I don't want to. I want to see less. Which chip would you miss the least if it was replaced? I think assistant manager. Are you planning to play next season? Unfortunately, yes. Is there anything else you'd like us to know regarding your experience with FPL? Is there anything you'd like to us to know regarding this? I would like to see changes. Should use the tab button, shouldn't I? To see changes in the transfer system. And a way to widen the pickable player base, i.e. make more players fantasy relevant. Right, next. Which of the following platforms do I use? Desktop browser, mobile app. Are you open to official emails? This is why I didn't get the email yesterday, because I must have ticked no. Are you opted in? No, I'm not opted in. Are you opted into official push notifications? No. Oh, look. Hang on. If you could make one change to improve FPL on the official mobile app, what would it be? Price changes moved in-house. Changes moved in-house. So transparent. And can see when they will occur. Copy that and paste it. Right, submit. And that's it, peeps. That's the end of the survey. Wasn't very exciting, was it? Not very exciting. I'm surprised if you're still going to be here, to be honest. So now we're going to have a look at what people were saying on Blue Sky. So I think this was Harry who asked what changes people like to see. So being Harry, of course, lots of people replied to him. So someone's saying here they want the core of the game the same, but overall how price changes work, making it easier for casuals to understand. Plus they have them come into effect at the deadline. And this is what I'd like to see, which is as soon as the first kickoff of the game week, the website locks you out. Basically, once kickoff, you're locked out the website. And as soon as the last game's finished, the website opens up with your scores and with a new set of transfer list, a new transfer list for the following week. So the prices only change over the weekend based on how the players perform. This is what they do in a lot of fantasy competitions. I think Fan Team there's change every Friday, like one day a week. The prices just change together. And the thing is, if they do it that way, they don't have to restrict themselves to a 0.1 rise. You know, if it becomes clear in the first few weeks that they've badly underpriced the player, they can take action during that weekend lockout and come back with the player, say, $500,000 more expensive than he was going into the game week. You know, if he's like scored a hat trick, he's playing striker for Liverpool, and he was down as a midfielder or something. You know what I mean? They can like make changes to correct any mistakes they might make regarding pricing in the summer, because none of us really want to have a player that costs 5 million that turns out to be essential that everybody has, and that player then goes and ruins the overall price structure. I think Palmer did that a couple of seasons ago, wasn't he? He was dirt cheap, and it meant that everybody could get him and afford basically anyone they wanted. So that's the kind of idea I'd like to see, some way whether you're locked out of making transfers while the games are in play, because you get a lot of knee-jerking casuals who make irrational decisions, and it influences prices and affects the rest of us that are playing the game sensibly. And we end up having, losing money or whatever. You might have a player that's playing Southampton the following week, and people are transferring him out, and he's dropping in price. Which is absolutely crazy, isn't it? So someone wants to price filter a sliding scale rather than a drop-down menu. I don't quite know what they mean by that, but Steve-O was saying that at the start of a season, instead of the prices being like 9 million, 8.5 million, 8 million, 7.5, they should be more fractions. Why not start somebody at 8.9, somebody at 8.7, so that it's easier then to bring somebody in. As currently you have to lose 500,000 basically, don't you, to go down or up or whatever, because there's no in-betweens, and it takes like a few weeks before you get those players at all the different price points. Right, Mr. Ian Rogers, he wants price changes visible on the main site so you can see in real time. I think that's a good idea. I think they should. I don't know why they don't bring it inside, because there's going to be more clicks for them. And why do we have to go to third-party sites to try and find out when a player's price is going to change? A lot of people don't even know about those sites, so they're at a disadvantage. So just bring more things onto the official site. It should be better for everybody. Need to make defenders more viable. Maybe 5 for a clean sheet or 6 for a clean sheet as less common, and 4 for an assist. I'll tell you what, if you look at the points of this season, I think I showed on the last video that hardly any defenders got over 100 points. And you had like midfielders, cheap midfielders getting 200 points or 190. People like Murphy, Rogers, Semenyo, Clivert, those sort of players getting like 180 points. And defenders getting next to nothing. Now we have more extra time or more injury time. There's very few clean sheets anymore. So why not make it 5 points for a clean sheet? I think that would bring in more play styles, wouldn't it? You better play 4-4-2. Even you might have a few 5 at the back teams coming back into play. Because at the moment, defenders, especially with the bonus point changes, have fallen behind other areas of the team, haven't they? So I think they want to do something about that. Maybe 5 points for a clean sheet isn't a bad idea. And if you could play 4 or 5 at the back, that would kind of improve the pickable player base, wouldn't it? Because normally you're not, 3 defenders and you've all got the same ones. You've all got Gabriel, you've all got Guardiola, and then you've probably all got someone like Munoz. So everyone ends up with the same defenders. So what have we got here? Another one saying price changes being transparent. Joe saying put the deadline to first kick-off because it eradicates leaks. Well, it doesn't eradicate leaks, because then they start leaking the 3 o'clock kickoffs instead. Because there's only one early game, and then all those later games are still subject to leaks. And personally, I think it's better than the current, moving it to deadline. Because if I have to get up early, say the deadline for me, the deadline might be at 1 in the morning, and the games are at 2:30 in the morning. Well, I'd rather have to get up 5 minutes before the actual game to check for leaks. Or it wouldn't even be leaks, would they? There'd be official score sheets. So, you could just get up then, and at least I can watch a match after I've woken up. Whereas having to get up an hour and a half before the deadline, I can't even stay awake and watch a match. I have to try and get back to sleep. And so deadline's better than the current system, I think, because the current system isn't working. But personally, I'd like to see it move back till about 2.5 hours before the deadline, which should take care of nearly all leaks. And then I could just go to bed whenever I wanted, not have to worry about the fact that everybody was getting extra information, and you wouldn't need to be at your computer in the lead up to the deadline. Right, so what have we got here? Someone's saying 2 points for winning a penalty rather than an assist. Doesn't matter if it's scored. Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, you know, if your player wins a penalty, why should you suffer because some other little prick goes and misses it? You know, it's not your player's fault. Your player made the penalty but didn't get any points because of somebody else. You know, a bit like clean sheets in a way, isn't it? You know, should there be, if a defender's at fault for a goal, should he have some kind of penalty? You know, why should all the defenders suffer equally because somebody makes a really bad mistake or scores an own goal? They do get extra penalty, I guess, don't they? What's this one here? Only one thing, keeping it realistic. I would change auto subs to be based on performance. It would be a big incentive to invest in a deep squad and far less benching headaches and missed points. What does he mean by that? Does he mean the highest scoring bench player automatically goes to first on your bench? I guess that's what he means. Or does he mean the Champions League system where you can put one on before the end of the game week for somebody who hasn't yet played? Horse reckons he's old school, one wild card a season. I'm in favour of that as well. You know, other formats that don't have these chips, I think it encourages planning better. And one wild card's enough, I think. Can't have the same captain for 3 weeks in a row, somebody else says. Yeah, it's an interesting one, I guess. What else were people saying along similar lines? Some people were saying you could only captain a player once for the entire season. Or, oh no, you could only own a player once during the season. Once you sold them, you couldn't bring them back in. That would be a real game changer. That one. That would be interesting. It would be interesting. It could be chaos. FPL hippie, men with long hair get double points. Well, that's me out. I'll be on that minus points. But he's always got something to say, old hippie. Right, let's have a look. FPL Fraser, I think he had another good season, although his team didn't, did they? But he liked the assistant manager chip because it causes chaos. He's saying people didn't have the same strategy, but nearly everybody did, didn't they? They all went on game week 24 and picked the same managers. All right, what else have we got? Deadline 30 minutes before kick-off. Closer, but would be better for the servers. Lowering the cost of a hit to 3 points. I'm not sure I like that one. They're saying most successful managers barely seem to take them at all. Well, I think people do take them. You saw Mark at the end of the season. He came flying up the ranks, and that was when he was making hits. You know, I think my own season, I think the 5 of the 6 weeks I took hits were my best weeks of the season. 3 points, would it make a huge difference? It would make a bit of difference, wouldn't it? It would encourage people to make a few more hits, I guess, which I don't think's a bad thing, encouraging that kind of thing. But I mean, it's not really broken, is it? 4 points. I mean, I think five would be certainly be too many, but I think four's okay. But you know, three's not the end of the world. I think some competitions it's only like 2 points, isn't it? Someone ditching auto subs. It feels wrong to get such a drastic cliff edge between complete disaster with a 1 point cameo or a get out of jail free. But what do you do if you don't have auto subs? What do you do? I mean, having none at all is a bit cruel as well, isn't it? You know, if your player gets injured in the warm up and then you don't get anyone else to come on, that's not really ideal. You could do what was that game that some of the I think some of the fan team formats. If your player doesn't play, you don't have subs at all, and if your player doesn't play, then the next cheapest player from the same club comes in instead into your team. But I don't think that would work very well for FPL, but they've got quite a few formats that do that, which I quite like. So that's quite interesting. No more main deadline. Players lock when their game starts. The problem with that is you're tied to your computer for the whole weekend. You know, and the way it is now, I mean, there's probably about 10 different start times during the game week, isn't there? And being able to swap players. I mean, that basically makes it like a Champions League game, doesn't it? Or I think they do have a set lockout at the start. Someone else said they love the set and forget nature of FPL, and so do I, which is why I'd like to see the deadline go to 3 hours, 2.5 hours beforehand, so you can lock your team away at your leisure and then just relax and enjoy your weekend. So what else have we got? One club chip, like a free hit. All your players have to be from the same club. That would be that would be interesting, wouldn't it? So it's like a free hit, but you've got to bring in 11 Liverpool players or 11 Chelsea players or whatever. That would be chaos too, wouldn't it? Imagine if they won 10-0 against somebody. Cut down on transfer opportunities. I guess they mean getting rid of hits, probably, do they? Just having less transfers. What about giving all your transfers to you at the start of the season? Like, here you go, here's 38 transfers. Do what you want to do with them. You know, like they did in the Sky game, I think, didn't they? I don't know how well that would work. Some people, you'd get to game week 3 and they'd be out of transfers for the season, wouldn't they? It would actually stop. It would stop all the people that make a different team every week. You know, they make like 20 transfers every single week, don't they? Well, after 2 weeks, they wouldn't have anything to do because they wouldn't be able to make any more. So that would put an end to them. It would actually put an end to a lot of these teams, wouldn't it? That I guess they'd just log into a new email and start another one. Here's another one, same as my idea. All price changes after deadline. Be quite good, I think, because you'd watch the games at the weekend, and there'd be loads of conjecture every week about what the new set of prices was going to be look like. I know that's like in the NRL competitions in Australian Rugby League, and it creates a lot of interest. You know, everyone's hanging out for the list to come out when the game opens up again on the Monday or Tuesday. So that would be an interesting one, I think, if they did that. I think that genuinely would improve the game. More ways for players to score points, crosses, dribbles, etc. The trouble is, it gets like fantasy baseball then, where you've got like 20 different categories, and it becomes like it's a complete does your brain in. You know, you've got so many things to look at, but it's just extremely confusing. Assist only count. Yeah, they could do something about assists, couldn't they? Because some of them are very obscure, aren't they? Sometimes the Opta ones and the FPL ones, just make them all the same. Someone thinks points should be awarded differently. 4 points for the 60-minute rule, 2 points, blah, blah, blah. People saying too many chips. Another one I read was having points for your vice captain, maybe 50% points for your vice captain, because currently they're a bit of a waste of time, aren't they, most weeks? They never actually do anything. So and that would be kind of quite a good place to be a bit differential, I think, wouldn't it, on your vice captain, if they did gain a few points? Because often there's a big standout captain all on his own, and then there would be a whole load of equalish second options, and that would add a bit of variety, wouldn't it, if you had points for your vice captain? Should have put that down on my survey, shouldn't I? Although I know when I read it. Now let's have a look. Imagine trying to read 12 million 12 million surveys. So it would be interesting to see how many actually replied. They're probably only, to be fair, it's probably only going to be the hardcore that even do that survey, isn't it? So that's about it, peeps. Quite interesting. We'll have a quick look and see, shall we? No. I was going to have a quick look on Reddit. Shall we have a quick look on Reddit? See what's happening. That's where I got the survey from, because I didn't have my, didn't get the email myself. Delap's completed his Chelsea transfer. People saying they're not going to go there, but Jackson suspended first game of the season. If they're at home to Sunderland, you're going there, peeps. You're going there. You know what I mean? Reindeersch, as they would say in the Netherlands. Probably Tiani, is it? Tiani Reindeersch. You know, although whether he's originally Dutch, I'm not sure, because you don't get that many J's normally in Dutch words, or do you? But anyway, Reindeersch is going to be joining Man City. I probably pronounced it all wrong, a bit like my spelling of Buemo and my pronunciation of his name, because I always put the U before the E, and I got told off yesterday for doing that. Right, so the FPL review is out. This is what you would have got if you got the email. I didn't get the email. Gives you your points and all that, and a little graph, and tells you you're a trailblazer or this, that, and the other. Load of bollocks, peeps. Don't bother with it. Chip idea, clean sheet lock. So you can lock in your clean sheets after 60 minutes. I don't know if that's much of a chip, though, is it really? I see FPL put a lesson. They put a lesson out for forwards, because forwards did very well this season, don't they? Well, I think that was the bonus point changes were ridiculous. You know, people like Wood, they just had to touch the ball once in the match, score a goal, and they're getting 3 bonus points. And I'm not sure it's good for the game. That's another thing I'd like to change, is the bonus point system. I'd like to go with official man of the match, even if they get 5 points. 5 points for the official man of the match, and nobody else gets diddly. I wouldn't mind that. You know, the likes of it would bring in different players, often for the man of the match. People like Rice, you know, lots of different players can get man of the match that don't actually get FPL points, or even award the FPL points only to players that didn't actually score any points. Just award the bonuses to players that didn't score any actual extra points, the best players in the team that did all the hard work. A bit like myself, peeps. Right, let's have a look here. That's the survey. Kelleher's joined Brentford to replace Flecken, and I put it to you, if he's 4.5 million, he will be in a huge amount of teams, because we know Brentford, the way they're set up to allow long-range shots or whatever, but Flecken does all right with saves, so why wouldn't Kelleher? But whether he's better than Flecken or not, I do not know. But I think he would be very popular anyway if he was 4.5. And this is why I think they should not go with these round numbers so much. Why not make him 4.8 or 4.7? You know, not all 4.5s are the same. There's a big gap between 4.5 and 5. You know, put a few 4.7s. If we can't decide where to put a player, put them in the middle. You know, like it's 8.5. Or should it be 8.5 and 9? Oh, we can't decide. Just make him 8.7, 8.8. That's all they've got to do. Right, so full of it this morning, aren't I? At least it's getting me over that chess game. Absolutely shocking, peeps. I've got such a good position as well. And positionally, I was out playing him. And then it gets to the tactics where you've got to like work out what's what. And I just miss everything. Didn't see a blooming thing. Mind was turned to mush. Turned to mush, peeps. First of many for Delap. I see they're after Gittins. Plays for Dortmund. And not many people know about Mr. Gittins, but you look at his stats and he's like the best in Europe at certain things. Another young kid. So hopefully they get him. They've sent Sancho back to Man United. You know, I think Chelsea weren't that keen on him. They would have taken him, I think, for the right wages. Sancho obviously didn't want to take a huge wage drop and has gone back to see out the final year of his contract at United, along with Rashford, I suspect, who's probably also going back there, isn't he? So I don't know if they'll be playing. Someone's done a bonus point thingamabob for valuation and where he came out top. Someone's doing Club World Cup reviews. I think it's too early to do previews, to be quite honest. I mean, we've still 10 days to go and we've really got no idea which players are going to go. I mean, some of the big European clubs are probably going to leave half of their players at home, aren't they? They're going to need a summer holiday, a lot of them. And I think next season, that club tournament could take its toll. You know, it could do. We might see more injuries from people that haven't had a proper rest and all that type of thing. So anyway, peeps, that's about it. So I still haven't done a like and subscribe screen for this summer series. I've been very slack. And I'll tell you what else I'm doing. I've been using Ninja Video, I think it's called, Video Ninja, to explore doing live streams with a guest. So I might well be getting into that field next season. I'm currently experimenting with the cat. You know, the cat's had a couple of private interviews. She's in one room with the iPad. I'm in the other room with OBS. And so far it's working pretty well. You know, I'm just trying to get the hang of it. So when I do actually do my first live stream with a guest, I don't completely muck it up. Anyway, peeps, I'm off now. So like and subscribe, even though you can't see the screen. And I shall be back with the third in the series sometime in the next week, probably. I don't know what it'll be about, but I'm sure we'll find something. Because at least there's not much competition at this time of year. You know, there's not many other people putting out content. And if you're anything like myself, you'll consume any old rubbish. You know what I mean? So I'll talk to you all later. And cheers for now then, peeps. So bye.